This is Demon Marked, Book 1 of the Venandi Chronicles, an urban paranormal romance series. Written by Sara Snow. Narrated by Selena Salcido and Henry Shader for Hot Ghost Productions. Chapter 5. Georgia.
"Come on, you slow piece of crap," I mumbled as I waited for my computer to load the registration page on my school's website. I was going to have to resume my classes online now, since I no longer had the convenient evening shift at the gas station that allowed me to work around my class schedule. I was nervous about it for a couple of reasons. For one thing, the stupid computer I owned was the cheapest I could find when I bought it last year, and it ran like I needed to put in more quarters to get more time. I wasn't at all confident that I would be able to take online classes with this thing. I also didn't know if I had the discipline to do it either. Without going to class in person every day, I wasn't sure that I was going to be able to keep myself motivated. But I had to give it a shot. I was going to continue to pursue my nursing degree. Then I could get a job that allowed me to afford furniture. It had been a week since I moved into the apartment, and I'd gotten my first paycheck from the call center. It wasn't much, but I was able to get myself a used futon. So at least it was an upgrade from the air mattress. I worked 40 hours a week to be this poor. I had a glass of sweet red wine in my hand that I sipped from while I waited for the page to load. Once my glass was empty, and I was losing patience with the computer, I set it aside and got up for a refill. To hell with it. I was going to indulge as much as I wanted for one night. I pulled the wine out of the refrigerator and was in the process of pouring it into the glass when there was a knock on the door of my apartment. I went rigid, remembering the creepy feeling I'd had of being watched when I first got home. I hadn't seen anyone around, but now there was a knock at my door when no one should be there. I didn't really have anyone in my life to come and see me. There was another round of knocking when I didn't answer right away, and I tried to ignore the uneasy feeling in the pit of my stomach as I set the wine bottle and glass down on the counter. By the time I got to the door, there was a third round of knocking. Harder this time. When I glanced through the peephole, I let out an irritated sigh. I couldn't see out. It looked like something was smudged on the other side, so it was a bit like trying to see a reflection in a steamed-up mirror. All I could make out was the vague outline of a person. "Who is it?" I called out, my hand on the doorknob. "Delivery," came a man's voice from the other side of the door. I frowned. It was almost 8 o'clock at night. That seemed late to me for a delivery. But maybe it wasn't the postal service. It could have been food, or flowers, or something. I wasn't expecting anything. But it wouldn't hurt to see what it was. I kept the chain lock on so that I could open the door a couple of inches and just peek out. As I did, I recognized the man on the other side as Victor, the handsome stranger from my old place. "What are you I didn't even get a chance to finish that sentence before Victor slammed his body into the door, breaking the chain so that it flew open, sending me tumbling backward onto the floor. I landed painfully on my elbows, but thankfully, I didn't hit my head. The last thing I needed right now was another brain injury. I scrambled backward as he entered the apartment, slamming the door closed behind him. The look in his eyes was crazy, and My thoughts became a jumbled mess of panic as he closed in on me. Then, things got weird. He started by angling his head to the side until his neck cracked. The sound was sickening, but then he reached up with his hand to his hairline and started to pull at the skin on his forehead, ripping it down his face. I screamed. I couldn't help it. I hoped that someone would hear it and call the police. But even as the sound left my throat, I knew that this was not the kind of neighborhood where people tended to get involved in each other's business. But I had to try. I was terrified, shaking, and trying to put distance between us as he continued to move in closer. Underneath the skin, there wasn't the nauseating mass of blood and tissue that I would have expected to see. Instead, there was another face, this one leathery, and there was a sucker protruding from its mouth. It was a monster, an honest-to-God horror movie monster, and it was in my apartment. Things started to fly around, and I knew that I was causing it again. But I didn't know how to stop or control it. The wine bottle I'd left on the counter soared all the way across the room before smashing into the exposed brick wall, drenching it in wine. Why couldn't it have hit the monster in the head? What do you want? I asked, my voice nearly hysterical as I bumped into the futon. I had nowhere else to go. No getaway. You. He rasped, and I flinched as he bent over me, grabbing each of my arms in a bruising grip as he lifted me from the floor and into the air. I struggled in his grasp. Usually men buy me dinner before I let them get handsy. The sucking protrusion moved closer to my face, and I took a deep breath to let loose another scream. But the door to my apartment was flung open behind the monster, and yet another man came storming into the room. This man was tall with brown eyes and dark hair. He was moving fast, so fast that I could barely track him, and his black trench coat fluttered out behind him, revealing the guns and knives he had strapped to his waist. What the hell? I didn't get a chance to wonder further, because the creature released me, and I fell back to the ground, crumpling into a heap at its feet while it turned toward the man. I just wanted to get the hell out of there. So I scrambled to my feet while the creature leapt at the man. They tumbled and scuffled around my apartment. I wanted to laugh like a maniac when I realized that if I'd actually had any furniture in the place, they'd be breaking a lot of stuff. Talk about a blessing in disguise. They were furiously fighting, and it occurred to me that I'd never seen a fight in real life before. And I couldn't have broken that streak with a stranger fight. It was surreal. I shook my head at the crazy thoughts I kept having. Maybe it was some form of shock. I certainly had enough going on. I hurriedly went toward the door of the apartment, trying to figure out something I could use as a weapon. I grabbed an umbrella that was propped up against the wall by the door. It was better than nothing. Then I saw the man pull a dagger out from a sheath at his waist. Oh my God, was I about to watch someone be killed? Then again, the thing was clearly not human. The man strode forward, striking the monster in the face with his free hand, and when it fell backward, he put his boot on its chest to hold it in place. Then he raised the dagger above his head before bringing it down into its heart. There was an unholy scream from the creature, and its arms and legs flopped around like a fish out of water before going limp. just like that, he was dead. At least, I hoped it was. The man pulled his dagger out and stepped away just as the creature's body started to change, turning to black smoke right in front of my eyes, and just floated away. It was as if it had never been there at all.
Always take out your weapon before they go misty on you,
he said, wiping the blood off the blade and onto his coat before sheathing it once again.
I've lost some good knives.
What the hell are you talking about? I shrieked. Everything on the counter shook with my shout. This was turning out to be a spectacular day.